This morning, the way that he's put out on the store, and in Texas, and working with Cinnamon, which is used to Texas. He's been out one day. Really? He's made 65. I thought, I sent him a message to the IRS.
Boy,
Yeah.
it's hot down there too. Good afternoon to everybody. This is the City of Shelbyville Mayor and City Council Special Call Meeting. It's about 12 noon. It's June the 25th, 2024. I will call this meeting to order, and I'll ask our city recorder, Ms. Lisa Smith, to do the roll call.
Councilmember Christie.
Here.
Councilmember Ewing. Present. Councilmember Feldhouse.
Here.
Councilmember Hale.
Here.
Councilmember Isaacs. Here. Councilmember Turnbow.
Here.
Do have a quorum, Mr. Mayor. All members are present.
Thank you. All right. The adoption of the agenda. Do we have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, time now for citizen comments. We have anybody sign up?
No, sir, I do not have any comments.
Okay, all right. All right. The next item is public hearings. We'll close our regular meeting for the public hearings, and we'll read the ordinances. The first ordinance is an ordinance as amended by the City of Shelbyville adopting the annual budget and tax rate for the fiscal year beginning July the 1st, 2024 and ending June the 30th, 2025. Does anyone wish to speak for or against that?
Public hearing.
This public hearing,
Public hearing.
there any citizens that want to speak?
Okay, if not, we'll move to the second ordinance. An ordinance to make final amendments to the adopted budget ordinance as amended of the City of Shelbyville, Tennessee, various funds for the fiscal year 2023, 2024, the period ending June the 30th, 2024. Anyone wish to speak for or against that? All right, we'll move to resolutions. A resolution as amended to authorize appropriations for nonprofit organizations for fiscal year 2024, 2025. Anyone wish to speak for or against that? All right, at this time, I'll close the public hearing and reopen our meeting. Consideration of a motion to allow our city attorney, Ms. Ginger Salkner, to read the captions only on ordinances and resolutions. And do I have a motion to allow that?
Make the motion.
All right. And do we have a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? All right, Ms. Ginger, if you would.
Your first ordinance is an ordinance as amended of the City of Shelbyville, Tennessee, adopting the annual budget and tax rate for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2024 and ending on June 30th, 2025.
All right. The adoption of the budget, do we have a motion to adopt that?
All right.
You want to
Motion in a
discuss?
second, then we can have discussion.
Motion.
All right.
Second.
Do we have a second? Second. Okay, now, any discussion?
I want to go back to raises.
Okay?
So I don't know who's the attorney, you know. How to do it, how to understand it. I want to go from, I want to recommend from 3% to 4%.
Okay.
Okay, what do you have in right now? Three, is it three right now?
Any second? What do we need?
Well, we're just discussing right now. We can, so you're asking to amend the budget to 4% instead of 3%. Is that correct, Lisa?
Yes.
Okay. Is there anything else that anyone needs to say?
Madam Treasurer, could you give me a couple of figures. Maybe you had that, I probably had it, so. The figure on the 3% and then that figure on the 4%.
It's about 150,000 different, but let me get that here. These are estimates, and the 3% was 451,886, which is in the budget. The 4% is 602,515, so it's just about 150,000 difference is all.
What was the 5%?
753,144.
Okay, any other questions or discussion?
Is there anything as far as capital projects that the council would look at to remove to make this increase?
Okay. Anyone?
Oh.
Anyone? Okay, we've got an amendment, to the motion. So that we had the first and second, motions to, go forward as was before the discussion, and now we have an amendment to that, to change from 3% raise to a 4% raise. So we would need a motion to amend that ordinance,
Who made
correct?
the motion?
I did.
Would you like to accept that as an amendment
Yes.
to 4%, and who was your second?
Me?
Would you accept
Yes,
that?
ma'am.
Okay, so the motion now stands at 4%,
Okay,
to
Right.
change it to 4%.
okay. All right, we have a motion to change. The only thing on the budget that we see so far, any discussion on, was the raise across the board. Yes, ma'am?
Since we're having a discussion, I just wanted to mention a couple of things. One is, the budget ordinance, I did change one thing in it. I needed to add it on the debt schedule part. I needed to add the police body camera, leases under that section. Didn't change the budget, but it did change something on the budget ordinance, so I wanted to tell you that. And secondly, I would say, whatever raise you do, if we could, in the motion, have it effective with the July 12th payroll, that'll make that part clear.
Do you accept those
I
changes?
do.
Is that agreeable to the motion and second? Okay. All right, any other discussion about anything?
I'd like to amend it
Henry?
to a 5% raise effective July 12th, with the difference coming from the fund balance.
All right. All right, do we
Do you
have,
accept those?
are you agreeable, either one of the original motion that's on the floor has now been changed to 4%, and now we've had a recommendation to move it to 5%. Would you want to agree with that or keep it at 4%? That's your motion, I think, William.
Okay, so the original motion stands to approve the budget with a 4%
Okay,
raise effective July 12th. If he would like to make a motion to amend, you can, and you have to get a second. We'd have to vote on that second.
That's why I made a motion to amend.
Okay, so is there a second?
all right, Bob, you've already agreed on the
No,
the
second.
4, and now Stephanie has given a second on the 5%. Is that correct? Okay. All right, let's take the first vote on the 4%
You
raise.
can have discussion on
Uh,
raising it. Yeah.
Okay, does any discussion on either one, the 4 or the 5?
I think you have to take the vote on the amendment first, rather than.
That's correct. You're taking the vote on to amend the original motion to 5% is
That's
what
right.
you're discussing, and then you will vote on that motion.
And I just want to point out, the tax rate is in this ordinance at 148, which is the same as our current tax rate,
Right.
just to be clear.
All right, we've got an amendment to the motion, a first and a second, to amend it to 4%.
No, to 5. Excuse me, sir.
We're still at 4, aren't we?
No, sir. There is a motion now on the floor to amend the original motion. Henry's motion has to come first.
Uh-huh.
It is to amend the motion to approve with a 5% increase. That's what you're discussing and what you're voting on.
Okay.
Depending on that, what happens with that motion, then you have to vote on the
4%.
original motion to approve the budget, depending on the raise, either 4 or 5, depending on what happens on this motion.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second to amend the budget to 5% raise across the board. Mr. Feldhouse has made the motion and Ms. Isaacs has seconded that. Do we have any discussion on that before we take the roll call vote?
Does it have to be just the discussion on the 5%?
It's supposed to be discussion on the motion,
Right,
on that motion.
right.
Is it, if it's related to raises, I would talk about it right now.
Oh, it's related.
To the raises, yeah, then talk,
Well,
have that
yeah.
discussion.
Yeah, of course, we know that for two consecutive years, the raises were at 6%.
Right.
6%. There's a lot of capital projects. There's a lot of capital projects, and of course, we narrow these down to where, it's more of a necessity rather than the wants. And I feel like if we're gonna continue to do these competitive raises and each year consecutively and that type of thing, I think that should throw something at directors, everyone involved in helping getting the budgets together, that these projects or these asks have to be essential. And I think there was a couple of pieces of equipment perhaps, or some discussion that we had was to share or to pass down a truck, to move parts around and that type of thing. That's really something that we should look at before selling it off to Gov's Not Deal or whatever that thing is or whatever. I think it's important to utilize what we can continue to use. But
Right.
it's nothing against, everything has escalated in price, and I understand that. And I was reading some of the people out in the field are at $17 an hour. That's, that's heartbreaking. So it's nothing personal. It's just that, we've got a lot of things to buy and such.
Okay. What I'm getting from Ms. Ewing is that we need to go back and change other things in the budget so that we can make this rate increase. And we only have the figures on, we got 451,806 for a 3%. We've got 613, is that correct, for a 4%? What do we have for a 5%? How much is that gonna cost the city?
752.
753,
753?
right. Each increment's about 150,000.
$150,000 each one. All right, so we're going from 451 at a 3%, and then 613
602.
and numbers with the 4%, and then we've got $753,000 for a 5%. Okay, any more discussion on the 5% before we take a vote?
I'd like to explain why I want to support a 5% based on the employee comments to the 3% that was proposed originally, and the competitiveness with other employers, other government agencies, cannibalizing our existing employees. We have openings now that we can't fill, and I'm afraid we're gonna lose some of our really key people if we don't maintain our wages. And yes, it's $300,000 more than what we currently have proposed in the 3% raise, but out of surely what is this, $25 million, almost $30 million if you count in all the 1,050 budget, we could surely find $300,000 to help our employees and to have them satisfied in long-term keeping them happy in the job. I think the county is doing 4% raises with a 1%, in addition, a 1% step raise. I'd like to get into that step raise idea too, because the longer they're here, the more valuable they are to us, and the more valuable, well, the more we need to pay them to have that longevity. So that's my reasoning for trying to go to 5%. We've got a whole lot of money we can change out of the $25 million budget, but I think we can afford it. And Our revenues are conservative, our expenses are high. In the past, we've been able to come up with much smaller deficits or much better surpluses than what we thought. And that's a credit to the council as we spend during the year and to our department heads managing their money. So that is my.
Okay,
Well,
anyone else like to speak?
Unfortunately, we don't get a lot of our constituents and our citizens right here in the chambers. And amongst us when we were meeting and talking about these things, but out in the community, you hear a lot. You have a lot of questions and, not from the streets, but I think I've heard somewhere in this room, there, and not picking on any particular department, but there could have possibly been a purchase over the last several years, maybe from 2019 to current, there have been 38 pursuit cars, patrol cars, police cars, 38 since 2019. Somewhere I've heard that figure. And yeah, that's really amazing. You know, to the average citizen, it's like, what are we doing? You know, that's hard to understand. That's hard to comprehend. You know, those type of things.
Very good. Very good. Anyone else have anything to say? Okay, all right. It's time then for a roll call vote. We don't have any further discussion. And what Mr. Fell has said, we all agree with that. We don't want to lose our employees and things like that. But we're also trying to take care of all the other needs that we have in this city. All right, let's take a vote on the 5%. Motion to amend the budget to 5% rate increase or raise for all of the employees of the city of Shelbyville. All right, roll call, please.
Councilmember Christie,
Yes.
Councilmember Isaacs. Yes. Councilmember Turnbow.
This is 5%.
Yes.
5%, right.
No.
Councilmember Feldhouse,
Yes.
Councilmember Ewing,
No.
and Councilmember Hale.
I'm gonna say no, because I want, nothing personal.
You have 3 yeses to go to 5 and 3 noes. Mr. Mayor, I'll ask for you to cast your vote.
I'm gonna vote no on the 5%.
Motion fails.
Okay. All right. Next, we will have a motion. We've got a first and a second on a 4% raise in amending the increase to 4%, correct?
No,
Go ahead, Jen.
what you voted on was a motion to amend
Right.
the original motion. The original motion is to approve this budget with a 4% raise instead of a 3% raise. Okay, that was the motion.
Any questions about that or any discussion on a 4% rate? That's what we're gonna be voting on now. Okay, all right, roll call vote, please, Ms. Smith?
Councilmember Feldhouse,
No.
Councilmember Ewing,
Yes.
Councilmember Hale,
Yes.
Councilmember Christie,
Yes.
Councilmember Isaacs. No. Councilmember Turnbow.
Yes.
4 yeses and 2 noes. Motion passes.
Okay, all right. All right, we have a 4% instead of a 3%. That's 613,000, how much?
602.
602, 515.
Okay, thank you,
That's just an estimate.
thank you. I want to keep you busy, Tim.
Okay.
All right, can we move to the next ordinance?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's go to ordinance B.
Your second is an ordinance to make final amendments to the adopted budget ordinance as amended of the city of Shelbyville, Tennessee, various funds for the fiscal year 2023, 2024, the period ending June 30th, 2024.
Okay, do we have a motion on that?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, All right, any discussion on that? An ordinance to make final amendments. All right, none, let's have a roll call vote.
Councilmember Turnbow,
Yes.
Councilmember Isaacs. Yes. Councilmember Christie.
Yes.
Councilmember Hale,
Yes.
Councilmember Ewing,
Yes.
Councilmember Feldhouse.
Yes.
Approved.
All right, thank you. All right, Ginger, if you would read the resolution, please.
It's a resolution as amended to authorize appropriations for nonprofit organizations. I do need to read what the allocations are, so I will just read those out for you.
Please.
Your expenditures will be Vocational Rehabilitation Center at $25,000, the Shelbyville Bedford County Public Library, $149,829, the Senior Citizen Center at $20,000, and the Chamber of Commerce at $5,000, for a total expenditure of $199,829.
Okay, and, of those, I think we increased the Senior Citizen Center from 16 to 20. And the rest of them are what they were last year, is that correct?
That's correct.
And the library had asked for an increase to 165, but we stuck with the 149. Do we have any discussion on that?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the $5,000 still remains for the chamber.
The $5,000 that we're talking about going to the chamber, we haven't got an answer on that letter yet, so we're holding that $5,000 to purchase a membership, as soon as we get that letter back, or an answer to the letter. Is that the question you're asking? What will we do with it? We'll put it back into the fund balance if they don't accept us. Had a good, that chance. Anyone else have any discussion on that? Well, let's have a roll call vote.
Motion here.
I didn't have a motion then.
Oh, okay. I need a motion on that thing. Those nonprofits.
Second.
Okay. All right.
I'd like,
All right, roll call.
I'd like to make an amendment again that we amend the Shelbyville Bedford County Library to the $164,000 they originally requested to match the county.
Okay.
It's 164,812, I think.
164,812,
Yes.
but we haven't given them a raise in 5 years.
All right, we've got an amendment to this resolution on the nonprofits to change one of the numbers from 149,829 to 164,812 for the Shelbyville Bedford County Public Library. Do I have a motion from Mr. Feldhouse? Do I have a second? Okay. All right, Ms. Isaacs, just second that. Okay. All right. Any discussion on that before we take a vote on it?
Was that about $15,000?
Yes. Isn't it?
Yes.
Any more discussion? All right, we're ready for a roll call vote. Remember, all we're doing is changing, increasing the Shelbyville Public Library.
You ready? Councilmember Turnbow,
Yeah.
Councilmember Isaacs. Yes. Councilmember Christie,
No.
Councilmember Hale,
Yes.
Councilmember Ewing,
No.
Councilmember Feldhouse.
Yes.
That is 4 yeses, 2 nos. That motion passes to amend the resolution to give the library 164,812, which will match the county's contribution.
Okay, and that total will be now, instead of 199,829.
I didn't know there was gonna be any math, but just.
Okay, that's all right. You need to borrow my phone?
Looks like 214,812.
Okay. All right. Okay, don't need to vote on anything else, we've got that.
Yes, sir, but you now have to approve the entire resolution.
And
You just amended the resolution.
Okay, we've amended the resolution, now we want a motion to approve the, resolution as amended,
That's correct, sir.
okay? Do we have that motion?
I'll make a motion.
Mr. Christie's already made it.
I think that emotion's there.
Okay,
Motion second.
second, okay, all right. Look, any more discussion on that? Let's have a roll call, please.
Councilmember Feldhouse,
Yes.
Councilmember Ewing,
Yes.
Councilmember Hale,
Yes.
Councilmember Christie,
Yes.
Councilmember Isaacs. Yes. Councilmember Turnbull.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. All right, do we have any announcements that we need to make?
The study session will be next Tuesday night, and the city hall will be closed on July 4th for the holiday.
All right. All right, no other questions? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Yeah.
Do I have a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.